Hello, everyone. Today is Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm sorry. Wow, I'm losing track of time here. Wednesday, October 28th. As always, I'm your host for Collectibles and Coffee, Edward Nguyen. Uh, Beverage of choice today, water. Trying to cut back on coffee and caffeine if I can avoid it. So just water today. Maybe we need to rename the series away from Collectibles and Coffee since I don't really drink much of it anymore. Today, we'll kind of be talking about how to protect yourself when buying online. This is a topic that come up. It's one of the things that we'll kind of talk about. So just kind of tips and tricks when buying, strategies that I use, how to ensure myself when I'm purchasing online, and then some of the tricks I've learned to kind of help you when you're going out there and buying online, just to be able to give yourself some peace of mind, and to ensure that you're not being taken advantage of. There's more eyes on this. I've mentioned this in the past. As collectibles get more and more expensive, you'll always find some people that will come in that will try and take advantage of people who simply don't know as much. Whenever there is a gap in knowledge, people will be there. People will try and take advantage of others, and this is what you can do to protect yourself. So to kind of reflect, the reason I brought this up was because yesterday was October 7th, 27th. If you watched my video 1 week ago, I talked about Dumb Money Live, the group of investing guys. One of them had confirmed a sealed first edition base set booster box. It was purchased for $375,000. They said that they would open it live on stream and sell off the packs for charity. That video, it was done yesterday. It was live. You can go watch it on their channel. I'm not going to play here. I know there are copyright issues, so you can go find it yourself. Just type in Dumb Money Live booster box opening. It should be the video come up. It's the most recent video. It was live yesterday on October 27th, so you can go take a look at that yourself if you want to see the full video. But basically, in short, spoiler alert, stop if you want to watch the video yourself. I'll give you a few minutes to do that. The box was a reseal. They opened it up. It was there. It was sealed when it was brought on. It was not removed from camera. There's no camera shenanigans there. You can see that when the box was opened, the plastic wrap, it looked tight. It looked clean. They opened up the box, and the inside, there were a few packs. It looks like the top packs were first edition packs. Those were good, but when they started going down, they had unlimited packs. They were booster packs that were open. The cards inside, there were not even first edition cards inside. Everything of value had been taken out. They basically had a box with a bunch of fake packs inside, and that had been opened, and they resealed the box with the plastic wrap on the outside. So again, watch that video yourself, take a look at what's going on, and then we will kind of talk about that. So this brings a lot of questions concerning legitimacy of sealed product kind of to the forefront again. People are going to look at this. Sealed product does need to be viewed in a new light now. There's going to be a lot more scrutiny when it comes to buying sealed product. That is why when buying sealed product, you want to know who you're buying from. This is really kind of a good rule of thumb. You want to know who you're buying from. You want to get some provenance, right? Let's get some background. Hey, where did you get this product? Right, there's a big reasons why people keep receipts on things. You can definitely see some people who are trying to sell off their old boxes now. I remember when I was looking on Verbank yesterday, someone was selling off a base set box, not first edition, just a regular base set box. He actually kept the receipt with the box that showed him paying $299 in like 1999 or something, which is incredible. The fact that he still has that's simply one of those things, again, that adds provenance to the box. Clearly in 1999, right, we're talking 21 years ago, boxes weren't resealed back then. Is it possible that he could switch them? Sure, right? Like you can find a way to poke holes in any story, right? The receipt could be counterfeit, sure, right? These are all plausible situations, but him having a box, him having the receipt, right? In my mind, this is enough provenance for me to say that, hey, if I was in the market to buy this box, this is something I would pay. His story checks out. It's good. If I ever in the future wanted to resell that box, I can go back and say, hey, in October of 2020, I purchased this box from the original owner. I actually have the receipt from when he bought the box back in 1999. And I can show, hey, here's the proof of transaction, right? Here's a PayPal purchase. It shows that in October 2020, I paid X amount of dollars to this guy, and this is the box that I got, right? So having provenance behind a lot of these items, behind a lot of these old items, is absolutely invaluable. Once you've done this long enough, I've been buying and selling collectibles long enough. I know when you find some of these old buys, you generally want to get kind of a good story. It's just a good conversation piece. It's a good habit, right? You want to be able to chat up the person that you're buying from. As a store, if you have a retail business, right, your buyers, they should know kind of the playbook here. You want to chat up your customer, right? One, you're building some rapport with them. You're kind of, helping them relax. They may be uncomfortable. They may not have an idea of how the process works, especially if you have people going out and buying and digging up kind of their old cards and trying to figure out what to do with them, right? It's not really fun to be taken advantage of, especially because there's so much knowledge nowadays. There's so much going on that being able to be open, being able to be transparent with someone is going to help you in the long run. So when your customer, when they're feeling uncomfortable, they don't have a clear idea of what's going on, having this conversation, having some rapport, kind of making them feel welcome, is going to help your buying overall. And part of this kind of allows you to get a read on the customer, right? When you say, hey, where did these come from? Or how long have you had these? Do you still play Pokemon? Do you still play Magic, etc.? That kind of gives you an idea of where they were, right? If they have some like bogus story, right? People, right? Most of us who own a retail operation, I'm sure we've dealt with stolen goods before. You can definitely have a pretty good idea of when people are bringing in stolen goods. There are laws about buying stolen goods. So as a retail operation, you want to be able to insulate yourself against buying stolen goods. We know what that looks like. For people just kind of shopping online, same idea. You can generally sniff out when someone just clearly stole something, and because they have no real idea, if they just say, hey, I found these like 20-year-old cards in my grandma's attic yesterday, right? Like, pretty unlikely story, right? These aren't really plausible, right? You kind of will have a scale of, hey, this is a logical story. It kind of checks out, right? This person, right? If he's in his 50s now, maybe he was in his 30s when he started and he picked up Magic, right, when he was a younger kid. Hey, this story checks out. This is something that I can believe. This is legitimate. Right? Sometimes people do find good deals, right? Some of the stories may be hard to believe. Sometimes, hey, I got these at a garage sale. Sure, whatever. You do want to, again, kind of feel out the person, check that provenance, see if the story checks out. The more expensive of an item you're buying, you want to be able to trace the items back. And usually you can say, hey, where did you get these, right? So maybe they bought them from someone else, right? So it's possible that they bought them at some point. They're looking to resell now. These are all things that happen as you have more and more experience, and you have a chance to talk with more people. You kind of talk with sellers from all angles. You have a better idea of what the story is, what stories check out, what kind of the background looks like when they're trying to sell you cards, right? You kind of have an idea of why they're selling you cards, right? If they're looking to cash out for an engagement ring, a home, a car, for college debt, whatever, what have you, right? They're just done, right? That kind of gives you a different angle to buy from versus someone who's simply going to try and sell their collection. They want credit and they're just going to be getting different things inside your store. These are all kind of different elements. Again, this is very valuable to talk to the person. Provenance really is everything. Do you need to get provenance for everything? No. Most of the time, right, if you're just kind of buying your casual $500, $1,000, $5,000 collection, right, not really much going on, right? These are just people. These are things that they've collected over time. They're looking to sell. But when you start getting into kind of bigger items, right, like this first edition booster box, for example, right, this is just one of the many things. When you kind of start looking at just kind of old boxes in general, you want to have an idea of where they come from. Again, as more eyes are in this, people are going to start looking at ways to pull a fast one on you, right? This is a reality situation. This is unfortunate. And when buying online, right, I think a lot of people, given how online sales are working now, right, we have a lot more people. We have all sorts of characters come in. I know that more and more people are trying to set up their own TCG store to be able to sell online themselves to kind of capture that market, right? People don't really have a way to go to their game store right now. There's no events. So selling in person, not really feasible. So people are looking at different ways to kind of cash out and sell their cards. So online, right, you don't necessarily have the luxury of of interacting directly with the person that you're buying from, right? Facebook sales, social media sales. We've really started to see these rise. I've talked about how e-commerce, social media marketing is becoming more and more prevalent than it has in the past. You don't always have a good way to know who exactly is on the other end. TCG Player, eBay, right? There are some ways to that eBay TCG Player will protect you if something goes wrong. If I buy something on TCG Player and I get a fake, right? I know that I can look at it, right? I can send it back to the seller. They'll refund me. I can deal with TCG Player. I'll get refunded, etc. Right? These are all things that there are ways to protect you as a seller. But when you're dealing through Facebook, through social media, it becomes much tougher. And I see constantly. I look at. I'm part of a lot of the trade feedback groups, right? I hear complaints about people getting scammed on the Pokemon page, the Magic page, right? All the time, right? Like I see this across the board. I'm in a lot of buy sell trade groups, right? I see this with like silver, with watches, right? There's a lot of unsavory characters out there. A lot of people, you have to watch yourself, and you just have to be careful. And as silly as it sounds, right? The mantra, if it's too good to be true, it probably is something that really, really, really is in play here. Nowadays we have the internet, right? Everyone's heard of eBay. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to look at their cards. If they really did go back and dig some cards out that are 20 years old, right? Base set cards, Watt Sierra cards, what have you. They dig them out. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to go online, type them into Google, and you can get a rough idea of what they're worth in 10 minutes of research on a stack of cards. So when people go online and say, oh, I just found these, I have no idea what they're worth, right? Now that should immediately raise red flags. If they're asking for a fraction of the price, right? Either they did very, very poor research, which is extremely unlikely, because if the reason they pulled out cards was because they saw Logan Paul selling opening up a $200,000 booster box, or people spending, $200,000 on Pokemon cards, they're going to have an idea that, oh, maybe I have cards that are worth money, right? If this card could potentially be $1,000, right? Why would I take $200 on it? And a lot of people, they seem to jump on these opportunities. Man, I found a great deal online. I'm ecstatic. I should buy. And then that's when people start getting themselves in hot water. Again, this does raise some concerns. Are you potentially buying stolen goods from someone? We've definitely heard about break-ins in game stores before. A lot of times people that do that, right, they don't know what necessarily they're stealing, right? So they just go online, they just start like trying to sell off cards, or they take them to other businesses. So when you have something that's too good to be true, it should immediately raise red flags. I generally don't tend to pursue those deals. I'm more than happy to pay slightly more to someone I know that legitimately got their cards. They have ways to do clean deals. They're trustworthy, right? I know that I can send them money and they'll send me cards. I don't have to deal with a lot of the nonsense that goes online with social media selling. And a lot of people, because you have more people that are entering this, more people are looking at ways of cashing out, of selling cards for the first time. And as a result, right, you have a lot of people that may not be conducting the best business practices. A lot of these people, they aren't businesses themselves. So they may be in a position to not necessarily do what's best for the customer, which is what most businesses should be doing. As a business, right, the idea is you have to be customer friendly, you have to be accommodating, you have to know how to take care of your customer in addition to taking care of yourself. A lot of these people, right, I'm not going to say they're necessarily self-centered, but they don't know what it's like to take care of a customer, right? We look at, in the past few days, right, when I've opened my mail, I see stuff, I opened it up, and I've had issues. I've gotten cards that came without top loader, right, so they arrived bent, so I had to go deal with that. I had a seller, if you watched, I believe on Monday it was, I opened an envelope, there was no return address on the envelope, and there was no invoice inside. I have no idea where that package came from. I'd look at the card, I'd go back and try and figure out which orders had arrived, and then cross-reference that to my purchase history online. And when I'm purchasing a lot of the same card, right, you can see how this would become a problem. So again, this kind of extends. I'm not saying that all online sellers are like this. A lot of people simply may be not very knowledgeable. They may not have done this before. If you think about kind of the hurdles, the barriers that come with buying and selling online, for a first-time seller, it can be a lot to kind of overcome, to kind of have an idea of what goes on, what should I do, right? What's the proper way to ship cards so they don't get damaged in the mail. These are things that, excuse me, may not necessarily be obvious to newcomers. And it is important to note that when you're buying online, right, there's no real guarantee when you're dealing with someone else versus when you're trying to sell a TCG. Even TCG player, right, no real guarantee. At the end of the day, you'll be taken care of. Your card arrives damaged because they didn't use a top loader. TCG player will take care of you. They'll refund you, what have you. But at the end of the day, it's your time that you're spending, right? This is a problem that you had to deal with. I had to go back, right? Look up these sellers, try and find ways. I had to message them. I had to follow through, make sure that I'm getting refunded, right? It becomes a giant pain, right? So if I had to do that, I would have rather spent the extra time resolving the issue. I would have rather spent that time just paying slightly more to have it done right the first time to begin with. And these are a lot of things that I think a lot of people do miss nowadays, right? When you're thinking, this is kind of a general life lesson, right? Like when you want something, when you need something done, right? When you're buying something, right? You can have it done right, you can have it done well, and people seem to want it to be done for cheap as well. Well, in those cases, you're picking two of those three things, right? If you want it done right, you want it done well, it's not going to be cheap. If you want it cheap and fast, right, it's not going to be done very well, right? So what have you. Trying to get 3 of 3 is something that you will have to pay for. This is just a reality situation. If something is too good to be true, it always is. If you want something done right, either do it yourself or spend the extra time, spend the extra money. It's going to be worth it in the end. So kind of looking back, right, we'll kind of look at some sealed product. I've done some episodes of this before. Just want to like kind of reiterate, just to help people out there who are looking to buy, trying to protect themselves, to know what you're looking for. So when you're trying to buy sealed product, let me actually grab a booster box here. I thought I had one handy. I don't. I'll be right back. So I just grabbed a small handful of booster boxes here that I had on my sale list posted a few days ago. So when you're buying booster boxes, so we'll use Magic just because I tend to have them handy right here. So Wizards of the Coast, they have always had their logo on the shrink wrap outside. So if you look here on this video, this is just a Japanese Constant Hardcore booster box. It's laying around. If you look on this video, I'm gonna make sure that you should be able to see the white Wizards of the Coast label. If you ever see a box that has no logo on it, that means that the plastic was just pulled from somewhere and got resealed. It is important to note that even though there are instances of people being able to cut these boxes, remove the contents, and then reseal them, what you want to do is there are ways to look for this. So it is important to note that this box, if you look at it all the way around, there's actually not the Wizards of the Coast logo all the way around the box. So if you look on the sides here, it's not on the sides, and it's not on the bottom, it's not on the front. It's only on the top, and it goes partway down the side. And if you look very carefully, if I look on the side here, you can see this is a seam, and this and below it, there's actually no logo. So the logo actually kind of gets cut off right here at the seam of the box. This is something that is on most of the Wizards of the Coast boxes. The more recent boxes, I haven't looked at some old boxes in quite a while, and I actually don't have an example here to show you. But you should be able to see this on most boxes. This is Conspiracy Take the Crown. Same idea. This is the front of the box, right? We can see the logo on the front of the box. We can look at the top of the box, right? There's no logo. If we look at the bottom here, this seam, you can see that same thing. The seam cuts the logo off, so it's actually not the entire logo on the bottom here. This is where the seam is. Same idea. The logo doesn't go all the way around on most boxes. I kind of have a wide range of boxes here. Same idea. This is a Japanese Core 21 collector booster box. If you look, let's see here, logo on the front, no logo on the back. And then if you look at the side seam, it's kind of hard to tell here where it comes together. You can see that the logo is not entirely there. It is cut off by the seam. Same thing on this side. It's a little less apparent, but you can see it there as well. So looking at the plastic is usually the first indicator with first edition booster box. A lot of the early boxes kind of predated the logo being on the shrink wrap itself, so that wasn't a good indicator. But the logo is kind of your first obvious sign. This will be something that deters most people. From there, you want to look at details of the box. If the box is in very, very good condition, that should kind of raise some red flags. Not every box that is in good condition is going to be a fake, but you have to understand how difficult it is to find something that is in good condition that's 20 plus years old at this point. These boxes are new, they should be in good condition. It's unlikely these would be counterfeited, right? So most of these you can buy without real concern, but when you're talking about maybe trying to sell something like this in 2040, right, then you have to start reevaluating and thinking about how they would be kept, the condition they would be in, even if they're stored in a musty attic over time, right? Then they start to develop a smell. The plastic starts to get loose, right? There are a lot of issues. This is one of the boxes that I sold, right? Just the way these were stacked in storage. You have slightly crushed edges right here. You can see this. This box there's actually a, can't really tell here, but there's actually a slight cut in this box. And this is simply just from running a box knife through the box when opening up these cases. And this is, you also sometimes will see this just kind of plastic splitting as it gets aged over time. But as a whole, when you look at the box, you want to look for tight shrink wrap, right? It can't be loose. And it can't have, this isn't necessarily a great example, but because these boxes are pretty tight. But if you see signs that the plastic has been pulled on, if it's been stretched, right? We know what stretched plastic looks like. If you ever opened something before, right? You kind of know what the plastic, it'll be distorted. The logos will be distorted, indicating that the plastic wrap was pulled in a way that wasn't natural with a box being sealed by a machine. So that's something you can look for when buying boxes. So you can kind of have an idea, right? If you can see the box in person, that's even better. But if someone is selling you a box online, you're trying to buy a box online, again, have an idea of what the box looks like. Look at pictures. Look to see that the box is good. Again, if you talk with the person, you'll kind of get some provenance. Where did they get the box? What's the story behind the box? That'll kind of help alleviate some of the issues they may have if all of it checks out. The plastic looks good, the seller's story is good, right? These are kind of ways to be able to protect yourself when you're buying a case, right? Which is something that I suspect more and more people will start doing. Cases kind of hold a large premium when you start going back because it's hard to find factory sealed cases of the stuff, right? We're talking about how hard it is to find factory sealed boxes. Now we're talking about a factory sealed case, right? These are things that would be sealed from factory. It just adds another layer of insurance. I happen to have a case here of, I believe this is Konstantar here as well. So cases, right? So if you've never seen a case before, this is security tape, right? If you're trying to buy a case, so you can look at security tape. You can see that this is one piece. It is unbroken on the sides. It's unbroken on the top, and it's unbroken on the side again. So this is one continuous piece of tape. There's no damage where it indicates that someone would have ripped off the tape and then tried to reclose it again, right? Which does happen in resealed cases. Same idea on the bottom. This is one continuous piece. There's some wear on the tape, but it is one continuous piece. No indication that it has been torn, right? There's no cut anywhere on it. So this, right, I would be confident selling this as a case. I mean, not that I really had any issues because, right, it's a constant Tarkir box. Who's going to go on and spend time and money to fake constant Tarkir boxes? So just something to keep in mind when selling sealed product. Look at the plastic. Usually that's kind of your first indicator. Again, it's not to say that plastic is going to be 100% accurate either way. Right? Sometimes it was just kept poorly. The plastic will distort. This is one of the things that if you go back and reference my sealed video, I do kind of talk about ways to store your product without having it deteriorate over time. This is one of the unfortunate realities I had when I started going through and trying to sell some of the sealed products. Some boxes do have a bit of wear on them, but it is relatively normal. But if you're looking to keep a clean box, for an extended period of time for your collection, right? You like the art, there's some value to the box for you. Maybe look at ways to store them properly. So that's kind of sealed product. That's just kind of a breakdown on it. When buying online, when you're dealing via Facebook, via social media, Twitter, Instagram, right? These are all things that people have done before. The most common thing that people see, and this is usually, I probably want to say like 98% of where people get scammed falls, is they paid someone with friends and family. In a previous video, I've gone through in detail about how I'm not a big fan of friends and family. I think it is something that should not be used. That's really not a function of PayPal. People are doing this as a way to skirt fees. As a business, paying those fees is something that you should just accept, right? We don't, as business owners, right, paying the 2.9% plus 30 cents per swipe on a credit card or any sort of plastic, right? That's just kind of the reality. This is something we're used to. A lot of people who are new to selling online, right, they may not like this idea that they're losing 3%. Well, the reality is every transaction that happens out there, most of the time when you're paying with your credit card, debit card, what have you, Apple Pay, right, ePay, whatever, right, the retailer is paying some amount of fees in order for that convenience. They pay that fee so that they have the convenience of you being able to use your credit card or whatever. For some reason, this seems to be lost on people. A lot of people seem to think that that the fees are passed on to onto their customer, right? To me, that's ridiculous. I think that's pretty poor practice. That's why when looking online, right, you want to know who you're dealing with. There are a lot of reputable stores that sell through Facebook, right? I sell through Facebook myself. I've definitely been out there. I sell through Twitter. It's important to me that my reputation is protected, and as a result, right, the only way I do sales is I do via PayPal invoice. If that person wants to pay via PayPal, I send them an invoice directly from my business PayPal account. They get the invoice. They can look at it. It's itemized. It tells them exactly what they're paying for, how much it is, and then they click pay, and then they can use PayPal to pay whatever means they do. It comes to my account. The fees are already paid for, and then I can print a label. It's very, very easy to do, and this is one of the advantages. And then as soon as I print the tracking label is automatically updated directly to them. They can see exactly where the tracking is. It's inside the PayPal invoice. I only ship to confirmed address. That way I'm protected as a seller. That way I don't have to worry about if the package goes wayward or whatever. Then if I send it to confirmed address, PayPal has my back. Right. These are things that most reputable businesses should be doing. They're going to do this. They're going to take care of it for you. I'm not a big fan of sending out with plain white envelope. This is a discussion that's come up before among a lot of retailers. It's unfortunate, right? But when you're shipping small things, the unfortunate reality is that you can't always afford, right? If the purchase is for a $1 item, you're not going to send tracking because it's going to cost you $3.50 or whatever to send that. That doesn't make sense. Whereas selling on Facebook, you can kind of control the range. You can charge people shipping. Usually, for most part, it's easiest for me. I bake the shipping into my prices. Every item that I sell, I take a look and I think if I sell exactly this one item, someone wants to purchase this one item, the amount that I sell for, the price that I set, am I happy receiving the amount after fees, after they take off the 2.9%, plus 30 cents for the PayPal processing fee? That's the fee that comes with PayPal invoicing, right? That's the good service fee. Am I okay losing the 2.9% plus 30 cents? And am I okay spending the $7 or whatever it costs to send this out in a flat rate bubble mailer or a flat rate box, right? For medium flat rates, it's like $13.60, I believe. Am I okay getting that amount of money after everything is said and done with the price I'm set? If I'm not happy with that amount of money, I need to charge more, right? These are things that are baked in, right? If I want to charge shipping, right, I can do that separately. But for the most part, just for the sake of convenience, I always bake shipping into the price of the item, right? This, again, the idea is the factor. If someone wants to purchase exactly one item, how much am I okay with the number of getting at the end? Sometimes they purchase two items together. Well, I can't ship this in one flat rate anymore. So does it kind of suck that I lose out on shipping? Sure. But now I get to ship two items in one flat rate instead of just one item. So reality, you're actually saving yourself money by doing this. So I think that's why it's important for you to have that price set in place. And from reputable sellers, again, they have these measures in place, right? They're going to be willing to accept the loss that comes with it, right? If for some reason these boxes get damaged in shipping, right, it's on me to pay insurance. We've talked about this before. As a seller, it is my responsibility to get the item into the hands of the buyer, period. It's not the buyer's responsibility that if it got damaged by USPS on the way, it's not their problem, because all they knew was that they paid for the product and they should expect to receive the product in the condition that they paid for. It's on me to pay for insurance if I deem it worth it. If something does happen, right, if I send this out and this gets crushed in the mail, that's on me. I'm out. I have to replace a customer, and then it's on me to take it up to USPS. Whenever I hear about sellers trying to charge insurance onto their buyer, I think that's absolutely ridiculous. That's not why insurance is there. Most business owners, they have an understanding of this. They should be able to factor this in when they're doing their selling online, when they're doing their deals online. So as a buyer, I would encourage you, shop with people who are reputable. They may not always be businesses. Some people have done this a long time and they're just in this for the hobby. Right? There are plenty of trustworthy people out there, but at the end of the day, like I mentioned, I don't care to deal with the aftermath of any issues that come up, right? I don't want to deal with cards that came in, the seller didn't feel like using a top loader, the card were damaged, right? I don't care to deal with the issue of not having a return address, no invoice. I had to go figure out who the seller was to make sure that that the item they sent me was actually what I ordered, and it's the condition that was advertised for. These aren't issues I care to deal with. I would rather have just paid the slight premium at the beginning. I would have rather just paid 10% more to buy from a seller that is going to take care of it. It's just going to use things in a top loader. It's going to send it properly. They have an invoice inside. I can open it up and see exactly, okay, I bought one of this item, light played, and I got one of this item that was light played. So I encourage people, especially if you're looking to invest, this is tougher, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're spending more money, this is something that cuts into your margin, right? But let's take a look at, the Dumb Money Live. They had people that come in, they had people that flew in with the booster box, they had people there with money on hand, they had to hire security for this event, right? This was all streamed live, and these ended up being a fake, right? So this, when we kind of scale that down on a smaller level, right? That's why you want to buy from reputable sellers. That's why it's worth paying a premium. They did pay a premium, right? The Dumb Money Live guys, Chris Camillo, he did pay a premium on the box, right? He did end up paying $375,000, and he admitted this was $75,000 more than what I wanted to pay on these boxes. So that's something out there. This is something that you want to consider when you're dealing online. Most of the time, I can assure you, paying for the premium is going to be worth the peace of mind. That's why Star City, that's why Card Kingdom, that's why Channel Fireball, that's why they charge you those premium numbers on their website, because they know that they have that quality to offer. Card Kingdom, Star City games, you don't actually have an option to get free shipping in PWE. If you spend above a certain threshold, right, they'll throw in shipping for free. That's on them. But most of the time, they charge you shipping. Star City, I believe, charges shipping on every single item that they sell. You do not get free shipping even if you are buying an Alpha Black Lotus, for example, or whatever. They will charge you shipping. They'll charge you whatever it costs to register it, to have it insured, presumably. This is something that they'll charge you. And that premium, that peace of mind, is ultimately, at the end of the day, what you're paying for. Right? Just kind of a very, very simple analogy. All of us that drive cars, we all have to pay insurance on our cars. Right? One, it's required by law. You can't drive without insurance. But even if it were optional, how many of us would really be willing to skimp on insurance on our car, even though, right, most of us can probably drive our entire lives without ever getting in an accident, without ever hitting someone, without ever hitting something. I imagine most people would say, yeah, I'm still going to pay for insurance on my car. This is the same thing. If you're going to pay for something, if it's something that you plan on making money on, if it's something you want to invest in, if it's something you're going to hold, right, why not pay that premium and don't have to deal with getting scammed? Usually, right, this is why I don't support friends and family, right? This is just a haven for people to scam others. This is why I don't support it. This is why I'm very, very against it. I make it very clear up front, right? I do not receive friends and family Even from people that I know, that I trust, every time, even whenever they're trying to buy things from me, I still say, hey, this is the way it has to be done. PayPal invoicing, goods and services. I cannot receive or send friends and family from my account. And this is the type of business I want to run. I want to run a clean, tight ship. I want to do things that are friendly for the customer. I want to know that the customer who's buying from me, they have that peace of mind. They know that I will take care of them. If something goes wrong, I will make sure to take care of it. PayPal will be on my side. PayPal will do what they can to help me in this situation if something goes wrong at the post office. And this is how you get repeat customers as a retail business, as store owners out there, right? I encourage you to do the same. This is how you differentiate yourself from the people who do this casually, for the people who do this as a hobby, as a pastime, because as retail owners, as business professionals, right, this is our responsibility. This is how we set a higher standard for the industry as a whole, because when people have a negative experience, when you have parents out there, for example, trying to shop online and buy things, right, they're buying Magic singles for their kids, right? Their kids want to start playing Commander. This is something they picked up on, right? They go online, they want to start buying Commander singles, they want to buy Commander decks, right? And then when they have to deal with potentially getting scammed, when they deal with getting product in poor condition from their seller because it wasn't correct properly, this is going to hurt the industry as a whole. This is going to hurt all of us at the whole. And I think it is important that by maintaining a high standard for all the customers out there, this is how the hobby industry grows. That's why, again, personally for me, I will always pay the premium. I will deal with people that I know. I'm not saying that I won't buy from, you out there if you're listening in, but most of the time I'd rather just pay the premium, deal with the people that I know, and not have to deal with the headache that comes with buying from TCG Player, because the reality situation is, given this current state of the pandemic and where we are, right, going out, buying collections in person, not really something I care to do. So that a lot of my purchases are made online, and I probably want to say more than half the time when I think that, man, I can save a few dollars here if I just, if I buy from this person versus this person, right, I'd rather make slightly more money. It ends up being a headache. It's just not worth it. So when you're trying to avoid getting scammed online, right, this is just as a rule of thumb for anyone out there, no matter what level of consumer you are, right? Doesn't matter if you're a casual player, if you're a collector, if you're an investor, if you're a retail owner, pay extra, pay for the premium, pay for the peace of mind, pay for the insurance. It is going to be worth it in the long run. The trouble, the headache dealing with PayPal, with your bank for a chargeback, right? These are things that you do not want to do. It is not worth your time. It is worth paying the small premium to protect yourself from these issues. At some point in the future, I'll probably do an episode on counterfeit cards, just to be able to kind of help people identify what they're looking for. Again, as cards get more and more expensive, as there's more energy and eyes put on these things, there's going to be more and more people that come in that are just going to try and take advantage of you. It's as simple as that. So counterfeit cards, this is something I would do in a future episode. That will probably be kind of an entire episode on its own. That is something that does require a little bit more technology. I do have to figure out how to cleanly be able to show these things. So that is in the works. That's something that will come. But as today, these are just kind of general tips when you're buying and selling online to be able to protect yourself and make sure that, someone out there who wants to take advantage of you isn't going to be able to do so. So this has gone a little bit longer than what I thought. I'm trying some of these shorter episodes. We're going to see how they go, see how they work for people. Because I know not everyone has the ability to set aside an hour of time to be able to listen to me talk. I wouldn't want to listen to me talk for an hour, to be perfectly honest. So I am trying to keep some of these on the shorter side. So with that, we'll kind of wrap up today's episode. As always, you can find me on Twitter at EdwinWin13 or Edwin13. On Twitter, you can find the social media sites for Vermilion on the right. We're here every day at noon, every weekday. So we'll be back wherever you're in the world. Stay safe. Thanks again for listening. I do appreciate the feedback I've gotten. I'm going to try and find a balance, try and find something that works for everyone. So wherever you're in the world, stay safe. Thanks again for listening, and we'll be back here tomorrow.